All right, hello everybody. Welcome to POLSA's third GBM of this fall semester. Here are our QR codes. They were already up, but if anybody still needs them, I'll leave them up for a few more seconds. I think everybody's good now. Once again, welcome to our November GBM. Again, lots of slides are saying welcome. So what will we go over today? First, we'll go over some important announcements, updates, what's going on. We have some really cool stuff that will happen over the course of the next few months, so be ready for that. Then Will and Mikołaj will have a presentation about Polish Independence Day. And then we will have a Kahoot where you can win one of these 3 awesome delicia. And then at the end, we have zapiekanki in the back, so we can eat some zapiekanki. So that's what's going on. Firstly, announcements. So we have one more GBM this semester, which is currently planned for the 4th of December. We'll bring it to the top. All right, that will do for now. So one more GBM, as I mentioned, on the 4th of December. Currently, we are in the works. We are trying to collaborate with UF Ukraine so we can have like a joint social and potentially that we can have both Polish and Ukrainian food for this GBM. We are currently reaching out to them and trying to figure out those details. So we'll bring more info to you soon, probably in a newsletter or a post or something of that sort. Socials. So I did mention last time that we might be doing something for the Euro qualifier game tomorrow. As I said, it's a must-win game. So those who are planning to watch it, come see me afterwards because it's going to be not an official thing, but just, if you want to come watch the game, I'll definitely be watching it at my place. So let me know so I know how many people to expect at my place tomorrow, all right? And then the more official thing, on the 26th, we have a cooking social planned, which I will now move everything so you can scan that QR code. So the way it'll work, it will be off campus. It will be, so the 26th is a Sunday. So by the time we all get back from break, it'll be, I guess, the day just before we return back to classes. So it'll probably be like an evening thing. So, a nice little like transition final thing before you, go back to your classes and, grind out until, the end of the semester. And key note about that, if you are planning to show up, please, I would say you must sign, fill out that form so we know how many people to anticipate. So, we can buy supplies and stuff, like that. Just so it's easier for us, as the board to plan out and, prepare for that social. Bartosz and Kalinda social is on the 7th. We will decide the location based on how many people voice their interest in doing that, either, at Depot Park, or if there's less people interested at somebody's place, and it'll be maybe more like a karaoke style. So we'll see. And then language nights, I see that Will added here that December 1st at 4 p.m. there will be one in person. Will, would you like to say anything about that?
That is all the information you need. Last time I said we were planning on a language night at 4 p.m. and then I forgot and registered it for 6:30. So this time the reservation is for 4 p.m. In Mallory, Friday, December 1st. So please come and have fun speaking Polish.
Last two have been awesome, so highly recommend coming and check them out. And then when we're not doing those, so on the weeks that we do not have any in-person ones, we might basically send out a poll on Discord. People respond if they want to, and then a time if you want to show up, and then we'll maybe do something like an impromptu kind of like a, I don't know, activity. I have one in mind, so if people are interested to show up, so be on the lookout for those. And because we are potentially collaborating with the UF Ukrainian Student Association, just wanted to plug their event that's going on this week. So this it is Saturday. So this Saturday, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. They will be having a movie night here, Rights Union, probably
2340 is like just across the hall.
This hallway, so super close by. Zemlia is the name of the film. Or stops Zemlia. That. So if you want to, come watch a movie, you're not doing too much this weekend, you're already in Thanksgiving mood, break, chill, stuff like that, then come check that movie out. All right, and here's the big announcement of the I guess semester, or of this GBM in particular. So one of our members, Iga, who is our tutor of one of our 3 tutors of the Polish language here at the language lab. She offered, because she's part of the Freshman Leadership Council, which is hosting the International Night on I think it's January 18th, so next semester. They're doing, basically, as part of the night is a performance, right? And so we figured it'd be a cool idea to perform and do something with that. And so with that in mind, we will be having 3 kind of like dance workshops, or as I said, somewhere here. Okay, there we go. That was missing. No prior experience nor sense of rhythm is needed. So we'll teach you, we'll get you caught up, and then we, as a group, we'll try to do something at the event. So if you could come, I think it'd be really cool. You can learn how to do some Polish dances, be a little bit more cultured. I know I need it a little bit. So yeah, please come. Please scan that QR code so that we know how many people are interested and who would like to potentially help us out with this performance. And yeah, that's what will be going on. So I'll leave it up for a few seconds. Or hey, if you're not, if you're scared of the performance aspect of it, it's too much and you just want to learn the dances, that's also perfectly fine. That would also still be the place to scan that QR code. So I'll leave it up for a few seconds longer in case anybody really, really wants to learn those dances, but is potentially scared of the big stage. I think we're good. I don't see anybody raising their phones.
So, Dr. Kowalewska, as some of you may know, every year teaches a 1-credit class in Polish. And next semester, she will be teaching US 3937, Poland by cities. Like I said, it's just 1 credit. The meeting time is 99% going to be Wednesday at 5:10 p.m. and 6 p.m., which is 10th period. And this class repeats, like I said, every year with a different topic each time. And so this year, the topic is going to be Polish cities. So we'll be learning about Polish cities, Polish urban life. And apparently, this is just in her description, we're going to create and play a game themed around Polish cities at the end of the semester. And the class is taught in Polish. Everything is in Polish. And so in order to participate, you do need, a baseline level of competency in the Polish language, but you do not need to be perfect. Most of the people that are going to sign up for the class are not native speakers. The point of the class is to have, a weekly opportunity to use Polish and to practice Polish. And, if you're worried about embarrassing yourself, your Polish is not very good, the only way you can get better is by practicing. And signing up for a course is a great way to, commit yourself to making sure that you are getting weekly practice in Polish in both speaking, listening, reading, and writing. Dr. Kowalewska, if you are not familiar with her, is really a gem on earth. In the world of academia, where there are many big egos and rather unpleasant professors, I'm sure some of you have met some of them, she is really a shining star of humility and kindness and understanding. So you will not regret taking a class with her. It's only 1 credit. It is not going to be that much work. It is just a casual and fun environment to use Polish in. The topic may be of interest to you, but honestly, the topic is not really even that important because the real point of the class is just speaking in Polish. And with her, it would be a great time. So I highly recommend taking it. If you have any questions or concerns, if you're thinking I'm interested, but maybe I don't know how good my Polish is, just email her, set up a time to talk with her, whether in person on Zoom or just through email. And she will be able to tell you if she thinks that you will perform well in a class or not. So get in contact with her. If you don't know her, she's very nice, so do not be intimidated. And yeah, highly recommend sign up. And like I said, this is just a 1-year thing. So if you want this, this exact class will not exist. This is your only opportunity to learn about Poland by cities ever. Yeah.
Do you need permission to register, or you can?
I don't think there is any prereq to register, as far as I know. So you should be able to just go and find the course code and sign up. If there is, email her and she will get you put in.
Are you giving instructor permission? I think.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe
There's some.
But basically, if you're interested, send her an email, and you can, finalize the details and whatnot there. So don't miss out. You snooze, you lose. All right. And then lastly, as far as important news, very important news. So Iga Świątek recently won the WTA finals. So basically, I think it's like the top 6, I want to say. Anybody can, fact check that if you like. I'm pretty sure it's the top 6 like women's players playing the tournament at the end of like the season. And then later on, the winner is basically like the best, right? And then through doing so, she also reclaimed back her #1 position in women's tennis. So just like the Polish media, I can now get back to supporting her because, we only support our athletes when they're doing very good. So that's what's going on. That was really cool. An extra classa table update for what's going on. Jagiellonia's number is currently 2nd, so go Jaga. So that's what's going on. And then the UF basketball season has started. And I'm mentioning this because basically we have a group that tends to go to these games. At least one person, very often me, tends to go to each of these games for every single game. So if you need someone to go to, you've been meaning to go, but you haven't had people to go with, let us know and we can meet up. And, it's a good time, I promise. And honestly, in my opinion, I'm biased because I used to play basketball, but I think it is slightly better than football, like experience-wise, whole package. So I can see some people shaking their heads, but I mean, check it out, is all I'm saying. And with that, our presentation about Polish Independence Day.
All right, so some of you may know, November 11th was Polish Independence Day. I don't know this which is national holiday of independence, Polish Independence Day. November 11th, which is an important date in many countries in the world because that is also the date that the armistice that ended World War I was signed. That's why Veterans Day is on the US, and that's why Remembrance Day is France and UK countries. But in Poland, the holiday has even more additional significance, which we will get into. But first, we're going to very quickly go through a millennium of Polish history, just so you get an idea of where Poland is coming from in all of this. As with most European countries, giving an exact date when the country came to be is difficult. Poland's symbolic beginning was in 966 with the baptism of Duke Michael I into Christianity, and it was around that time that the first Polish state can be said to have come into existence. Fast forward 400 years to around 1400, give or take like 50 years. Poland and Lithuania have a important historical relationship that began kind of as an alliance, and then eventually they both ended up being ruled by the same king, which ultimately culminated in them becoming the same country as the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. So the two countries have a very close historical relationship that evolved over the course of decades to turn them into this single country, which, as you can see, is quite large. It was the largest country in Europe for a long period of time, and it is during this time period, during the 16th and 17th centuries, that Poland, along with Lithuania, had a kind of golden age of culture and economy, military power, etc. However, the 18th century was not so kind to Poland. As with a lot of countries that exist for centuries, Poland entered a period of decline. Meanwhile, the empires that surrounded Poland continued to grow in power, namely, that is Russia, Austria, and Prussia. Prussia is the predecessor of Germany, so you can think of them as synonyms. Poland in the 18th century finds itself surrounded by these three empires and really unable to defend itself against them. And so rather than fight amongst themselves over Polish territory, because as empires, they all want to grow, they decided to peacefully split Poland between the three of them to avoid a war between Prussia, Russia, and Austria, which worked out great for them because no one died. Not so great for Poland because it was erased from the map of Europe for a very long time after this. So there were three series of partitions, first in 1772 and then the final one in 1795. Here's a map of where the parts of Poland went to: Austria, Prussia, and Russia. And after this point, like I said, Poland was erased from the map of Europe. This is, you may recognize as a map from World War One. Poland still does not exist. This period was really, the partitions are a very critical moment in Polish history for many reasons. In total, Poland did not exist for 120 years. And so during that time, obviously the country ceased to exist politically, but Polish people obviously were still around. And as I was making this presentation, I was kind of reminded of the first line to the Polish national anthem, which is Jeszcze Polska nie zginęła, kiedy my żyjemy, which is generally translated as Poland has not yet perished so long as we still live. And that's, you know, it's the national anthem for a reason. It really applies to this era of history when Poland was erased from the map. And in particular, Prussia and Austria really took active campaigns at suppressing and destroying Polish culture and the Polish language, as empires are wont to do. That's what happens to most minorities, and Poland was not given any special treatment. And so the Polish language and Polish culture were really threatened. And it was not just like, you know, a couple years, it was over a century of Poland not existing, of Polish people not being able to set up their own, you know, institutions to support their culture and language. So Polish art, literature, culture was produced, but generally by artists in exile. And a lot of it contains, you know, themes of independence for a person exiled from their home country, which no longer exists. Obviously, desire for independence and for freedom is going to be a major theme in all of that. So the partitions were a dark time for Poland. However, at the end of World War II, an independent Polish state was finally created. If you remember, in World War II, we have the Central Powers versus the Triple Entente, so UK, France, and Russia. Here we have Poland kind of split between two sides, right? And Russia actually endured the Russian Revolution during World War I, which kind of made it the loser of the war because they couldn't really fight. And then obviously Germany and Austria lost World War I, which kind of meant that all three of the partition powers were weakened at the end of World War I, and that in combination with obviously Poland's tireless self-advocacy resulted in the creation of the independent Polish state with the Treaty of Versailles. And November 11th, 1918, the day that the armistice was signed, was also the day that Józef Piłsudski, who is a Polish general and nowadays a national hero of the country, assumed control of the Polish government. Obviously, the process of gaining independence is kind of long, and there's lots of legal changes that happens. But this is the date that was chosen, kind of like how July 4th is the day that the Declaration of Independence was signed, ratified, written. I don't remember. It's an important symbolic day in our history, right? So the same thing in Polish history. This is a great day of symbolism, which is why it was chosen. Unfortunately, Poland's history is really tragedy after tragedy because after gaining independence, things were not so easy. Versailles, the treaty, was not effective. Obviously, it led to a war 20 years later when Germany violated its terms. But Versailles in Eastern Europe was also not very functional. Basically, immediately there were wars between many countries over the borders that it set up. And for Poland in particular, Poland got into a war with the Soviet Union in 1920. Surprisingly, Poland actually won this war, which did a great deal towards legitimizing the Polish state, because obviously it hadn't existed for a century, and to a lot of people it was not, a legitimate state worthy of being independent, but Poland won this war and kind of established itself. However, Poland has been independent since 1918, but that is really tainted by two events in particular, that being World War II and the Cold War. So during World War II, Poland was, the first country to be invaded as a part of the European theater of the war in 1939. And I don't think I need to relay all the details of the Holocaust to you, but 9 million Jews were killed, of which 3 million were Polish. Poland had one of the largest Jewish populations in the entire world at the eve of World War II. So, and also Jewish people, especially in urban cities in Poland, really formed an important part of the fabric of Polish society. So the loss of 99% of its Jewish population at 3 million is a significant loss. And in addition to anti-Semitism, Nazism also has plenty of other prejudices. The Holocaust was perpetuated against LGBTQ people, against the Roma, against disabled people. And although the Polish nationality was not an explicit target of the Holocaust, Nazism was also extremely anti-Slavic, including anti-Polish. And there was a plan that Germany had planned out. It was generally for after the war, but it did have its, it was just part of the events it set in motion during the war. It was called the Master Plan for the East, which would have seen the resettlement of Eastern Europe with German, basically the colonization, which would have necessitated, the extermination or deportation of all of the Slavic people, including Poland. And so, although this was not exactly put into effect, Nazis were not at all friends to Poles. Being Polish was no protection against, violence or death. And so Nazi occupation is really terrible for Poland. And Poland also maintained one of the most active and successful resistance movements throughout World War II, which meant that it was constantly causing problems for Nazi Germany. And so World War II in general was a great struggle in Poland, and it kind of, in a way, culminated with this final event. So as we all know, Nazi Germany eventually lost World War II, and in the East, as the Nazis retreated, the Soviet army, the Red Army, moved into Eastern Europe, liberating it. We'll get to that later. But as the Soviets approached Warsaw, the Polish resistance movement kind of planned and staged its greatest moment, which was the reclaiming of Poland's capital city for Poland. They staged an uprising as the Red Army advanced. Nazi Germany was forced to retreat, which would have meant, if Poland timed it right, that the city could have been reclaimed before the Soviets could occupy it, but after the Nazis were forced to sort of divest and leave because they were about to get into by the Red Army. Unfortunately, the Soviets, during the uprising, decided to stop their advance and waited outside the city of Warsaw as the fighting raged. And the uprising was quite successful at first, but because the lack of the Soviet threat, Nazi Germany was able to reinforce the city and crush the uprising. All in all, over 200,000 Polish people died just during the Warsaw Uprising and its aftermath, and kind of in vengeance for that. As I said, Nazi Germany was no friend to Poland, and as they were retreating in their kind of final act of retribution against the country, they decided to raise the city. And that is R-A-Z-E, not R-A-I-S-E, as in level the city completely. It was their intention to so utterly and completely destroy the city that there would be nothing to come back to, that there would be no city, and that Warsaw would cease to exist as a concept in the world. And they were almost successful. Nowadays, the city has been rebuilt, thankfully, but really every single building you see is less than 100 years old, because not a building is left standing after the complete destruction of the city right at the end of World War II. And honestly, in all of the history that I have learned, I think it is one of the greatest tragedies. Imagine Washington, D.C. being razed to the ground, and the American cultural heritage that's stored there, the National Archives, the Smithsonian Museums, that kind of thing was completely destroyed with the destruction of Warsaw. And so it's really difficult to even describe the amount of loss that was experienced during that. And that is just the tip of the iceberg, because Poland also spent the previous 5 or 6 years under occupation. I will also mention most Nazi death camps were placed in Poland intentionally, meaning Poland was really just the site of atrocity after atrocity. And unfortunately, the immediate aftermath of World War II was no better because, as I said, the Soviets liberated Eastern Europe, which really translated to the installment of communist governments across Eastern Europe. And communism was, although Poland remained independent and the Communist Party in Poland was Polish people, it was still not a good time. In the end, really, communism was not about, leftist utopian ideals as described by Marx or however else you want to define communism. It was about holding on to power and, having a lack of political freedoms and a lack of personal determination and, a lack of economic freedoms, literal material shortages, starvation, not being able to make your own life decisions, not being able to leave the country as you wish. Those are all terrible ways to live, but communism also, in a way, destroys the soul by forcing, in Eastern Europe, it destroys the soul really by forcing people to kind of accept this bleak reality, despite knowing, people were not naive enough to think that communism was establishing a utopia. They knew that there were, shortages. They knew that they did not have a say in how things were governed. But people who spoke truth were jailed, fined, harassed, deported, killed, any number of things to silence them. And so the only option really was to just accept things. And that really, destroys hope for the future, which is one of the reasons why communism was able to persist in Eastern Europe for 4.5 decades. Thankfully, there were brave people that spoke truth and continued to speak truth. And Poland, in its labor union solidarity, which came about in the 80s, played a really integral part in the collapse of communism. So Poland can claim that honor of being one of the stumbling blocks that eventually caused the Eastern Bloc to collapse. But for the duration of communism, Poland really suffered greatly. And it was kind of out of the frying pan and into the fire. There was no more genocide being perpetuated against Poland, but it was still not free. And it's only about 30 years ago that Poland kind of regained its full independence. And nowadays, Poland does remain a free liberal democratic society, but that's kind of a new thing for Poland. It's not just that, Poland got out from under the yoke of communism, or that Poland rebuilt the city of Warsaw, or that Poland recovered after losing, I don't know what the percentage of people that it lost during World War II is, 10%, 20%, a very incredibly high number. Poland had just come from spending 123 years not existing on the map. So the past 2 centuries or even more of Polish history is really just tragedy, 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 tragedy. And so why is Polish Independence Day celebrated? Because Poland has spent so long having its culture and its language and its existence oppressed and survived many attempts at extermination. And so Independence Day is a celebration of the fact that Poland still exists and that, there is a country called Poland that can celebrate its independence, because during Nazi occupation and during communism, Independence Day celebrations were banned. Even, when Polish communists were ruling Poland, they replaced Independence Day with a different holiday. Because celebrating Polish independence, celebrating the Polish national spirit is about celebrating freedom. And I have a lot of admiration for the the Polish national consciousness and heritage, for what it has gone through and what it has come out today to represent. And I will also mention, Poland got out from under communism just 35 years ago, which means a majority of Polish people alive today remember communism. They remember living under this oppressive situation. And so for them, Independence Day is not, in the US, Independence Day is a fun holiday for celebrating, America and all it stands for. But for a lot of Polish people, Independence Day is real. They remember when Poland was functionally not independent. And so celebrating it for them is a personal experience. And even for their children, it's still a personal experience. Because, Polish people, as they are educated about their culture and their heritage, they learn about all the times when Poland has not been able to celebrate itself and to, express itself fully. A lot of Polish, literary cultural heritage was lost because Poland spent so long not being able to, exist on its own at the hands of so many different groups. So that is why Polish Independence Day matters, and why I have a lot of admiration, as I said, for the country of Poland. I'm not Polish, because I do not know, but I think there's a lot to be learned from Polish history. And today, modern Poland is not perfect. No country is, but I think there's beauty in recognizing the positive traits that a country has demonstrated in history, and how it is forward-looking, attempting to improve itself. Poland has only really existed in the modern Western world for 30 years. So if you think about the grand scheme of things, Poland as it exists today is kind of a new thing. So it is constantly, on the road to self-discovery and asserting itself as, who Poland is as it relates to the rest of the world. Now, Mikołaj will talk about knowing all what happened, why Independence Day is celebrated. What exactly does celebration mean? What do people actually do?
Before I begin, recent Polish history is really interesting, and it's like it will take hours to cover all of this stuff. But I know some of the stuff. So if you're interested, you can always talk to me. I will happily debate you. Okay, so the most amazing thing I think is about Independence Day is that even though different parts of Poland were liberated in different days, in different years, even, for example, Toruń, where I'm from, was liberated in 1920 and not in 1918. So basically, even though many parts of Poland celebrated in different years, we all come together on like the Independence Day to like celebrate it together, celebrate. What do we do at homes, like, for example? At homes, basically the only thing that happens at homes is like at 12 p.m. There is a TV broadcast of a national anthem, and everyone is expected to stand up to the anthem and sing it. Just like you are being taught the anthem from like young age. There's 20 verses of it, but don't worry, like there are only 4 like unique ones, and they just repeat after the 4th one. So yeah, if you take a stroll in like the Polish city, you can see like there's a lot of Polish flags, like they are everywhere. Everyone like puts out the Polish flag. Like many historical landmarks of Poland, they have all Polish flags. It's like white and red everywhere. So yeah, singing national anthem at 12 p.m. In Warsaw, because the celebrations mostly take place in Warsaw. In Warsaw, there are a lot of military parades, and there is a famous Independence March, which you can see here on the presentation. So basically, when it comes to military parades, we just have a showcase of like Polish uniforms across the centuries, but most often it's like in the picture, the uniforms from the liberation time. The Independence March is like a lot of people just marching through the streets of Warsaw with Polish flags. There's Polish flags are everywhere. Like I cannot understate how many Polish flags there are. Sometimes there are like, as you can see, there are flares. Sometimes those marches get violent, which is like makes them like kind of a controversial topic in Poland, because we debate whether we want to allow them or not, when in the case that there is always some violence that is taking place on those marches. We have a lot of concerts with patriotic songs. I remember that my high school, every year they hosted like patriotic song contest that you could like sign up for and sing in it. There are like a lot of TV concerts as well. And primary schools, like children are taught patriotic poems, also the national anthem. So it's like something that patriotism is something that you are taught from the young age. And by patriotism, they also mean stuff like respecting the nature, like not damaging your environment, and being like a good member of society. And there is no like what's interesting is there is no like dish for this Independence Day. There's usually like a dish for like Christmas. There's like a dish for other holidays, but not for like not unified. Not there is not a unified dish for like Independence Day. The exception would be rogale świętomarcińskie, which you can only get in Poznań, which is Saint Martin's croissant. I don't know how we would classify this because it's not the same as a croissant. So yeah, and there's also the Independence Run, which is like a run that is hosted every year in Warsaw to commemorate the independence of Poland. So yeah, that's basically it.
When I was in Krakow this past year, I was there on November 11th, and this video was taken on the main market square. There's the St. Mary's Basilica, and I took this right around 12 p.m. They had the trumpet players in the tower playing the national anthem, and then you could hear, no, it's not the whole crowd of thousands of people singing, but there was, the faint murmur of the Polish national anthem. So, real Polish traditions in action. And I think that is all that we have for the presentation. So now, I hope you're paying attention because we have, if I could get to the next slide, a Kahoot, our favorite.
Quick round of applause for the presentation, because I know.
You think the bottom thingy is gonna block the answers? Should I put it off?
like this.
Yeah,
I know.
I think it might be better there.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I fumbled that.
I was like so admiring this speech because I'm like still like I haven't heard someone speak so eloquently like forever. I feel like I have like a brain rot.
Okay.
Did you share audio on the board?
Should be. Last time, I didn't do anything last time.
I mean, we got couples that, as I recall.
No, video, but like, he was asking for video. Audio.
It's not that important. I mean,
I mean, you won't make up what we're saying.
but
Yeah, I'll check it, but.
oh. Nina just joined.
Yeah.
All right, is everybody good to go? Who's still trying to connect? Not anybody? All right, I think we're good, right? All right,
Any objections to starting?
all right, let's go.
Okay, I will begin. Um,
Proper usually like 966.
that's not That's me.
Wow.
If you remember the date 966, the baptism. 1400 was the union with Lithuania. Poland was already a country long before that. And it also was a country before it was independent. Just so you know. Poland's union with which country led to its status as the largest in Europe for a time? I don't know how many years it was. Does anyone know? How long was Poland the largest country? Lithuania. Yes.
Until Russia came back. So
That
then-
is a long and complicated
So it
history.
was basically 3 times as large as it is today. Right now we have like 300,000 square kilometers, and back then it was 1 million square kilometers.
Everybody got it.
In the 18th century, which of these countries was not one of the countries surrounding Poland? Correct, France.
Good.
How many times was Poland partitioned between Austria and Russia and Russia? How many partitions were there? 3. Yes.
Nice. Not
Yeah, not nice.
nice that they got it right.
For how many years was Poland removed from the map of Europe? 123. For me, it's an easy number to remember because it's 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
Which is very convenient. Poland officially regained its independence at the end of what war? War 1, 1918. Why was November 11th chosen as Poland's Independence Day? What happened? Versailles was signed on June 28th, 1919. It was signed like a year after fighting ended. The armistice that ended the fighting was in 1918.
Let's say the almost.
Whoa,
You mean just
Big-
how it's run?
big changes.
Technically not, but that would be the second most correct answer. Which event? 2 of these are correct, so either one will work. Denied Poland true independence in the 20th century.
That's why we're trying to leave it so bad.
Yeah.
Which of these is not a way that Poles celebrate Independence Day?
We did last time.
Probably, yeah.
I did this.
Yeah, it's good.
Yes, that is a All Saints Day tradition, if you remember from last GBM. Final question. Why does Polish Independence Day matter?
Decisions, y'all. Decisions.
Some places matter.
They're all correct. There are many reasons.
All right.
Let's see the
And that,
winners.
the leaderboard is. Bravo.
Elizabeth,
Bravo.
Vashti, and
Oy, bravo. Good job, everybody. Good stuff. Winners, please come up, take your prizes. First place gets first pick, and so on. Thanks for everybody for joining, and that is the end of the. Thank you.